right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, about Hashem Yahweh Shai, about Hashem Marakah Kodash. Yahweh is the Most High's name, who the world Eli called God. Through his son Yahweh Shai, whom the world Eli called Jesus Christ. Rakah Kodash is the Holy Spirit, all in the ancient Hebrew tongue. Double honors to the apostle and elders, great millstone, and salute unto you, brothers, that their preachers heard. Salute and honors to you, brothers, serving and preaching his word in sincerity and truth. All right. Said, I got this article here from Zero Hedge. Said, will the Iran war trigger a dollar crisis? All right. And yes, war does bring famine. Okay. Historically speaking, the example, World War II brought famine in places in Europe. Okay. And this Iran war, Iran is basically the linchpin to the World War III, and also to Armageddon, which is the mountain of the troops, which then is going to eventually lead up to America's destruction via thermonuclear destruction. All right. And we're at the beginning of sorrows, which I'm going to grab in Matthew 24. But let me read some of this article. Okay, it said the oil spike has moderate and markets are mellow for the time being, but could the long-term economic consequences of this world war just be getting started? U.S. allies have shown a lackluster response after President Trump request for assistance in reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And also today, it was yesterday, a few days ago, he was asking his so-called allies in NATO to help with the Strait of Hormuz, all right, and to using their navies, using some of their ships, but NATO declined, helping out Trump. So, and that's also prophecy, pursuant to Revelation 17, that the beast shall hate the whore. The beast basically represents the NATO European Union members, all right? And the harlot that sit on top of the beast is America, basically in the power seat, okay, controlling the beast, but the beast is bucking up, And, you have into horses or whatever, and you're on a horse, but the horse, if it feels like it don't want to be ridden today, it can basically high kick you out the off his back or whatever. That's what basically the beast system, not the beast system, but the NATO members, European Union members are doing to America. It's high kicking America off his back, basically. All right, when they actually don't want to deal with America no more. All right, and eventually in World War III, this is NATO and EU gonna basically shoot their missiles on America, man. All right, so you see the tension, it's being heightened every day. All right, but going into the U.S. dollar crisis, it's time for this dollar to hyperinflate and go to zero, man. It's time, man. All right, because this dollar has been used as a power stick to destroy, put these other nations in captivity. especially the Israelites, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. All right. And this dollar is basically it's a shit. It's basically chains. You know, it's a form of slavery, captivity, because the dollar is a debt-based system. Okay. But let me finish this off. It said a corridor carrying roughly 20% of global oil supply, and this may spell a trend of what's coming. What happens when oil producing Gulf states have enough of our Israel's foreign policies, machinations, and as a result begin to de-dollarize or offload U.S. sovereign debt. Yeah, because Iran was like, you can pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but only use Chinese yuan. So that's a part of that de-dollarization. All right, not using the dollar for payment anymore. These nations, therefore, is going to cause the dollar to hyperinflate. You know, the bond market going bust. You know, and what effect does that have on the regular citizen, American citizen? Well, your 401k gonna go bust. You know, that's eventually gonna lead up to a credit freeze in the system, where you can't use your ATM cards, can't use your credit cards. All right, and I say 95% of people in the U.S. don't use cash anymore. So it's going to be a very scary time, man, when this all comes down, man. Let me read this about Schiff Dollar Days numbered. It says Schiff has long argued that the U.S. fiscal deficits, monetary expansion, and reliance on foreign capital have put the dollar on an unsustainable trajectory. In recent commentary on the Iran conflict, he warned the war could accelerate those vulnerabilities. Okay. So yeah, this war will kick things off. You know, it's been what, 2 weeks? Started at February 28th, the actual air assault bombing. All right, between Iran, Israel, and the United States. So it actually has been 17 days, because today is March 17th. So yeah, this is going to snowball. You know, remember, this is pursuing the 2nd Ezra 16. This is the the plagues that are described as contractions. Birth contractions. Okay. So let's grab this in Matthew 24. And as being a prophet of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you have to go over the same prophecies over and over again. Okay. And that's what the ancient prophets did. You know, when they had visions and whatnot. You know, they wrote it down. They had the different prophets had this, the same vision pretty much, and they wrote it down. So the prophets today, we always have to be going over the prophecies over and over again. All right, the Lord's sayings are constant. Okay, because He's basically going over these prophecies, repeating them as we're actually trying to warn our people, the Israelites, the true biblical Israelites, and to repenting. All right, it said 2 Corinthians, is that 11? Right through 2 Corinthians 4, if I'm not mistaken. Said through terror of the Lord we persuade men. Okay, so these prophecies supposed to be prophecies which are plagues. Prophecy means say before, but we prophesy in the plagues, the judgment that the Heavenly Father is going to put down on the earth. There's going to be mass death. So we warn our people to repent so the Lord can protect you in these dire times to come. Matthew 24 and 6, NLT, it said, you will hear wars and rumors, roars, like it, that's in KJV, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars. But don't panic. All right, so these wars are talking about the wars that's going to lead up to World War III. All right. Yeah, these are talking about the last days. All right, because in the book of Revelation, you said woe, woe, woe. It talks about World War I, World War II. And it said not long, basically, immediately, not long after that, roughly paraphrasing, not long after that, it's going to be World War III. So the Lord is talking about between these wars between World War II and World War III. All right, there'll be wars and rumors of wars. All right, and you'll hear wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. All right. Said nation will go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom. All right, so you got that right now, which is going to lead up to World War III. All right, Iran, Israel, America, Russia, China. China's about to go into Taiwan at the Ukraine-Russia war. I'm sure North Korea, South Korea are going to get into it. All right. Russia going to set its sights over there at Poland. All right. Set its sights toward the EU and all that. You know, this is going down, man. And what effect that's going to have on these currencies, you know, paper currencies, what effect it's going to have on the economies of the world. It's going to lead to, said there will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. It's going to lead to famines. All right. High gas prices. That means the truckers going to be struggling, all right, to transport your food. Okay. I say natural Father Nature type famine is going to happen as well. Well, the Lord is actually going to dry out the crops. All right. He's going to dry out the rivers and the lakes and whatnot. Fish going to die. You know. We're going to send locusts on these crops, all these farms and stuff. Yeah. It's getting worse and worse. He said, but all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. See that? It said birth pains. So that's Persona 2nd and 16. Let's talk about the plagues are going to be like a woman with child. Okay. And the collapse, let's say the hyperinflation, which is the collapse of the paper fiat currency, the dollar, is prophesied in Ezekiel 7. And also Revelation 6. We talk about the black horse on the pair of scales. Said, heard not the, said a day's wages is only going to buy a loaf of bread or whatever, you know. Said, hurt not the wine or the oil. Let's see. Where is that at? I think that's. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start at 17. Point is like 19. See what it said in NLT. Yeah, I'm gonna just read in NLT. It said their hands, Ezekiel 7:17. It said their hands will hang limp, their knees will be weak as water. They will dress themselves in burlap. Horror and shame will cover them. All right. They will shave their heads in sorrow and remorse. All right, so people are gonna be catching hell, man. Here in America, man. Okay, because this is the place where the ultimate, the deliverance of Israel, the elect of Israel, gonna be, and also is the place that's gonna receive the greatest judgment that is ever gonna get in history. All right, of all nations. All right. Because America, the destruction of America is described as the second death. All right. Remember, the first death was the flood. When you read the account of Noah. Okay. So America's destruction is basically the second death. All right. So this is basically talking about America, man. Even though they had prior hyperinflations in different countries, all right, but that really don't count. Only America counts. America's judgment counts, because America's judgment is the point of contact, like I said, of the deliverance of Israel, the elect, and also the greatest judgment. Okay. When judgment of America is going to be talked about for ages to come, you know. Ezekiel 7:19 said they will throw their money in the streets, tossing it out like worthless trash. All right, and that happened in Venezuela. That happened in Weimar Republic. That happened in Zimbabwe, okay, and those number examples of what's gonna go on in America. You're gonna see $100 bills, the blue $100 bill Benjamin Franklin's thrown out in the street, worthless trash, okay, and that's what goes back into the dollar crisis. All right, which this war is going to trigger that, man. Okay, now as the war drags on, the war drags on, is going to bring that dollar crisis, is going to bring famines. All right, the riots, the Civil War, all that. Okay, so let's go back. It said their silver and their gold won't save them on that day of the Lord's anger. Okay. Gold and silver has always been, I'm talking about the metal, the precious metal, gold and silver has always been, coveted, basically always been, precious. All right, but not paper currency. Paper currency, once its intrinsic value gets to zero, it's thrown out in the trash like worthless paper. Okay, so that's how you tell it's talking about paper fiat currency. It said it will neither satisfy nor feed them. Hyperinflation, famine, engineered famine. For their greed can only trip them up. Okay, so majority of our people, they trust in the American dollar bill. All right. But that's eventually gonna be their stumbling block. Okay, for their wickedness. Majority of our people don't know precious metals, gold and silver, is a hedge. Is a hedge. Is a hedge for hyperinflation. They don't understand the money system. All right. Yeah, therefore, they're gonna be trapped. They're gonna be trapped. Basically, they're trapped. Okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. All right. Shalom.